morning. Welcome, everyone. I want to take a few minutes to discuss some tweets, if I can get there. I'm trying to figure out how I get out of this tweet into another tweet, which I should have done earlier. But you can see here some of my other comments. I guess that might be min Shemayim, but I really want to just read out. I don't know even if I have enough time, especially considering how slow Twitter is being right now. To From someone who I respect as a great political thinker, that kind of shocked me and my response to it. But you can see there my support for Dimitu among Jews in the Holy Land, which I think might give you some idea as well. So let's just get back into here and get back to some of my responses, although I'm almost at work, so I don't know if I'll have time to do this whole thing. But basically, Austin Peterson, who I consider one of the great libertarian thinkers of our time, and who I've had speaking to twice, once on his radio show a few years ago, and recently made some time to talk to him. He tweeted something about the necessity to curb or restrict immigration from Muslim countries, and that there should be an effort by Christians to convert Muslims. Now, this is a curious thing because Austin Peterson, as far as I know, is an agnostic or perhaps an atheist. But he's more along the agnostic side, and I really haven't had time to talk to him about his theology. But he is a great thinker. He is someone who is well educated on these issues as well. And it was shocking, particularly as someone who he calls himself a libertarian nationalist. And I discussed with him my ideas on that, of how American nationalism is unique in the world because it's really based on libertarianism. Now, it's different than any of the European nationalisms that existed. But my response was as follows. First of all, Ben Franklin, from the founding, he wrote in his autobiography of his dream of Muslims. Here I have Muslim missionaries at an open pulpit. That's not the one I wanted. At an open pulpit in the University of Philadelphia. So he said, I don't think there needs to be an aggressive mission to convert Muslims to Christianity. I think we need to have a PR campaign to Muslims about how Marxism, being rooted in atheism, is the opposite of Islam. And I said militant atheism because I'm not even sold Austin there. Because Muslims care about the same family values that Christians do, so they should be really Muslims should be voting Republican. And my understanding is that a great deal of Dearborn voted for President Trump, and that has to be, just like how the Jewish community traditionally voted Democrat, and there's been big, except among the Orthodox, and there's been big inroads to get Jews back to the party of Lincoln. But why is it that Muslims don't support the Republican Party, even though it makes more sense to them religiously? And it's simply because of Israel. I think most Muslim Americans would vote Republican if not for the Israel issue. However, a significant part of self-identified Muslims in America, or those who are culturally Muslim, like leftist ex-Jews who are culturally Jewish, have been hijacked by Marxism, which really, in a certain sense, was started by ex-Jewish people who have some cultural Jewish identity. In a spiritual free market, many people who grow up Christian or Jewish may find Islam appealing. Many who grew up Muslim might find Christianity or Judaism appealing. We must avoid allowing America to becoming Dar al-Islam at all costs. That's the main thing. Now, and I think that comes to this whole issue about Sharia law and things like that, meaning because I have a big worry when people are like, oh, in Texas they're making these Sharia colonies, and I'm scared that if those are banned, that's going to make problems for communities like Curious Joel or New Square, communities like that. So I don't want those things to be banned if they're a Muslim community that wants to live together, just like Jews live together, just like Amish live together, just like whatever other communities want to live together and have self-government, which may be influenced by their religion. The issue is when they're imposing it on other people. And that's the issue. So probably the best thing we as non-Muslims can do to help assimilate Muslims into American ideology, which doesn't mean Christianity, it doesn't mean American culture. It means the libertarian ideology is to enhance and promote moderate Muslim voices, which might not be necessarily the libertarian voices, but there are the moderate voices. The one that I have, promoted is the Hizmet movement of the late Fethullah Gulen. But as I'm writing here, unfortunately, many of his followers have already been introduced to leftist ideas. If they're exposed to authentic libertarian ideas, I think they will be among the best Americans and the Muslims that Franklin and Jefferson dreamt of being part of the American societal fabric. So I had more comments here as well, but and so we got to, and there's a lot of other things I spoke about here, but that's basically the big issues that I want to discuss here. Meaning we have to stop this boogeyman of Sharia, because Sharia just means religion. Technically, Judaism is a Sharia, Christianity is Sharia, and the views of Islam in the Arabic language. But rather, we have to instead try to have Muslims understand that we don't have a problem with them praying 5 times a day. We don't have a problem with them not eating pork. We have a problem with saying you can't eat pork as a non-Muslim. We have a problem with them saying, and we also have a problem with them cutting off people's hands, if they steal. That type of stuff doesn't work in America and should never be allowed. Just the same, there were stories about rabbis beating people up or hiring people to beat people up because they refuse to get, which I think is also a misunderstanding of the Rambam there, because he's not Maimonides when he allows such a thing. He's not talking about the modern day cases. He's talking about where someone is actually obligated by law to divorce his wife, and where Maimonides does allow that. Still, we live in a society of Dina de Malchus Dina, the law of the land is the law. And so Maimonides isn't speaking he's speaking in an ideal sense, not in a current sense of the world that we live in. So that's also part of it. So there's a lot to talk about, but if Muslims understand that, which 99% of Muslims in America understand that you live in America, you cannot have a Sharia court cut someone's hand off if they steal. They go to jail, and if there's something that's a religious issue that's not a civil issue, like a religious divorce, our hands are tied. We can't go beat people up, for refusing a religious divorce, even though Maimonides says we can. And so to whatever it is in the hadith or whatever it is, it's the same thing. They can't do that. But as far as living their religion, Islam is for the most part a force of good among Muslims, and especially if you understand the history of how things were before Islam and how after and so forth. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. We'll see you later.